Hello, this is Parikshit Singh MD from Studio 19, welcoming you for another session with our esteemed guest Partho ji, who is an educator, Vedantist, and a connoisseur of movies that deal with evolution. So let's start with movies first because that's the most important thing. And you talked about last time we talked about the movie Lucy, and you said there is some concept in it that we need to know about.
Yeah, that was in context.
You
We were
forgot the
talking about
context.
evolution, weren't we?
You were talking about evolution of consciousness.
Yes, evolution of consciousness. And to give an idea about how it happens and how it's different from evolution of form.
Right.
So the movie Lucy came to mind because I think that's amongst the most interesting illustrations of evolution of consciousness that I've seen. Though it's not exactly what we are talking about in
Right.
Sri Aurobindo's sense, but comes remarkably close to the idea.
But so let's talk about Lucy for a moment. She has, through some chemical changes, biochemical, physiologic changes, she has an expansion of her awareness. It's no longer a limited awareness. She becomes,
Her being expands.
her being expands, her
Yes,
awareness
exponentially.
exponentially.
Yes, within a day she becomes a terrestrial consciousness and disappears
Right.
into that.
But that's not what we're talking about.
No, that's not what we're talking. That's just, the movie was just an interesting illustration.
Right.
And as I said last time, it could have been made very much more compelling, and
Right.
But anyway, it's a movie. But the idea comes through very well.
So the individual's limited awareness becomes a vast
Yes.
awareness.
Yes, just to give an example of what that expansion of
Yes.
consciousness actually is,
Right.
because it's a highly abstract matter.
Right.
So to have a real glimpse of what that kind of expanded consciousness would be like, the movie gives comes pretty close to it.
Right. As much as metaphorically.
As much as a Hollywood movie
can.
come close
Right.
to it. Yes.
But let's talk about this. This is an on individual scale, an individual discovering something deeper. But there is no fundamental change in her body that is accompanying it. This is just it's from a drug,
Yeah, from a chemical reaction.
from a chemical reaction. So people in the old days, 30, 40 years ago, people were taking LSD and all that to widen their awareness.
That's right, yes.
But unless you are ready for it, it doesn't really work, and it can have bad reactions.
It doesn't, yes.
Aldous Huxley tried it,
Yeah.
the mushroom, but he was a very mature and refined intellect, and he could sustain it, and he would do it once a month.
And he went into it not because of the drugs, but because of the experience that would give him.
Right.
The doors of perception.
The doors of perception. So we don't really recommend it.
No, not at all.
We'd rather you work on your basis.
Yeah, because that's short-lived and it's not the real thing.
It can cause side effects too. As a doctor, I have to put in my 2
effects too.
cents.
Yes, absolutely. It causes side effects.
But the evolution
And
that
it messes around with your brain.
Right. I remember what Steve Jobs said about another famous billionaire. He needs to drop some acid and experience it.
Yeah, he said that.
Steve Jobs said that. But coming back to our understanding of evolution, but we are not talking about individual evolution because that's what Indian approach has always been.
Actually, we are talking about individual evolution to begin with.
Okay.
So I know you're referring to collective evolution.
Right.
But collective evolution will become possible only after a certain critical number of individuals have gone through this evolution in their own minds and bodies.
Right.
Bodies as important as minds. Right. So I do know of at least 2 people that I know of. One person I knew personally who started experiencing the physical changes And the other person is J. Krishnamurti, whom I didn't know personally, but both of us have known of him for many years.
UG Krishnamurti, you mean?
No, J. Krishnamurti, and UG is the other person I was referring to, the one I knew personally for some time. He used to come to the ashram.
Right.
So both of them had started. UG definitely had started experiencing changes in his body structure. And J. Krishnamurti had started experiencing what he called the mutation in the brain.
Mutation of the brain.
Which Mother talks about too.
Right.
And again, remarkably similar things that they talk about. Mother, of course, went farther than J. Krishnamurti. But J. Krishnamurti had already, because of the stillness that he had brought into his brain and his physical structure, so he was already experiencing and he chose to use the word mutation for the very word Mother was using. And UG, of course, had his own experiences, quite compelling ones at that.
Yes. So let's come to the Gita now. We talked about the polemics about the Gita, the fight that is going on, the fight about the fight in the Gita.
About the fight, I like that.
So why is the Gita important, and is it important at all?
Oh, I think the answer to that would be very subjective.
Subjective is all we are doing. Subjectively speaking,
it can't be important to everyone, but yes, to me it's very important. I consider it to be the pivotal work of Sanatana Dharma, which is why I've dedicated an entire section to it in my book. And as I've pointed out in the book, that if one wants to know how to really live the Sanatana Dharma, how to practice the principles of Sanatana Dharma, how to realize the foundational truths of Sanatana Dharma, how to make it practical in day-to-day life, then the bridge is the Gita. I've called Gita the bridge between the profoundest foundational principles of Vedanta, of the Sanatana Dharma, and its down-to-earth practice in daily life, practice in every aspect of human existence, political, social, psychological, moral, relational. Everything is part of this, what we call the Gita-Upanishad, the counsel of the Gita, the teaching of the Gita.
In your opinion, what is the most important message of the Gita?
Identity with the divine. The essential identity of the human and the divine. In the language of the Gita, the identity of Arjuna with Sri Krishna, that within Arjuna, within himself, he is one with Sri Krishna. And realizing that identity is the purpose of his life, is the sole purpose of his life. The
soul.
Yeah, the driving purpose of his life.
So all the steps throughout to practice equanimity, to surrender everything, all the results to the divine, to do everything for the divine, to think only of the divine, to be utterly unattached. That's all a preparation?
Yes, but let's reflect on these things.
Yes.
Because you've said a lot of things here. So the Gita, to my mind, is an explanation of what reality is and how it works.
Yes.
And how this reality that we are living as this universe, our cosmic reality, is Sri Krishna himself, his consciousness, the extension and the self-becoming of his consciousness. That's what Gita explains.
Right.
That this universe is nothing but the self-extension of Sri Krishna's being. It's a self-becoming of Sri Krishna's consciousness. And sloka after sloka, Sri Krishna is explaining how everything is Krishna's consciousness, from the minutest to the cosmic. So just consider it as Arjun is beginning to understand that not just this universe is Sri Krishna, but everything happening in this universe is not just by Krishna's will, but it is an extension of Krishna's consciousness. It is his consciousness that is behind every event, every cosmic and every terrestrial and every psychological event. That nothing exists beyond Krishna, nothing can happen outside of Krishna. So the more this understanding or this vision and understanding grow in Arjun, that everything is Krishna, this cosmic existence is Krishna. All actions come from Krishna. I mean, initially, of course, Krishna says that actions don't really belong to you.
Right.
They are the play of nature in you,
right.
The three gunas of nature. But behind the three gunas of nature is the same divine reality.
Right.
Which is me, my hand behind everything, my will behind everything. So whichever way he says this, whichever sloka he takes up, eventually it leads to the same understanding and realization that everything is me, everything is Krishna.
Everything is the divine.
Everything is the divine. We're calling the divine Krishna.
Krishna is
because in the Gita it is
the
Krishna
word used for
who represents the divine.
Right.
Yeah, so Krishna the divine. So everything is the divine. Every minute detail of our lived reality is the divine. So when one understands that, then one quite easily understands that action is not mine. Eventually the action is the divine's. Through the gunas of nature, through the play of prakriti, through the play of nature, it is the divine that is acting through us.
Right.
And it is the divine that is moving into the events, and the events themselves are formations of the divine's will and consciousness. So it becomes natural after that to not think about results. It's not so much a question of leaving the results to the divine. It's simply the complete acceptance of the fact that everything is the divine, everything is the divine's will. So the action and the results of action, work and the fruits of the work are all anyway the divine's. So it's not so much a giving up or a yoga as such. It's simply an understanding of what reality is. And the more you understand reality, the more you understand this universe, the way everything is, the way everything is arranged, the way everything is becoming, the more you become a surrendered being, one may say.
Surrender to the divine.
Yeah, but there's a difference. There are nuances here. I mean, it's not like you surrender to the divine. That understanding that the Gita gives you itself makes you surrender. There is, I mean, how do I explain it?
Since everything is the divine, there's nothing to surrender.
Yes, I mean, in a way, there's nothing to surrender. You don't surrender anything, but you become surrendered. There's a difference between the two.
You feel a close identity with the divine.
You begin to see again the sense of identity. With each understanding,
right,
the sense of identity grows.
Right.
Because there is no, if I know that right now it's behind the prakriti in my mind, it's the divine's consciousness.
Right.
And it's the consciousness alone that's moving thoughts and
right,
moving knowledge and moving
right,
speech and moving action.
Right.
And everything is being done by that. And even the distortions of the ego are actually movements of the divine for its own cosmic purpose.
Right.
So the more I understand this, the more I grow into what is called the surrendered state, the samarpit sthiti.
Right.
So it's not that you're doing a surrender.
Right.
Surrender is coming to you, it's happening. And why it's happening? Because with the growing understanding of the nature of reality, the sense of the karta bhav, the doership, is just falling away from you. You're simply outgrowing the sense of doership.
So I'm not even the doer of my action?
Let me give you an analogy.
Yeah.
I hope it comes through. So you're watching a puppet play,
Right.
a very an excellently executed puppet play, which is very absorbing. You're completely absorbed in it, and you're really living the whole theater, and caught up with the characters and everything. And then suddenly you have a glimpse. Maybe you move a bit, and suddenly you see a puppeteer pulling the string, and you see the puppet moving, and then just a glimpse, and you come back. And your whole reality is changed. You no longer take the puppet play seriously now, because these are just puppets. Someone is pulling the strings behind. So just one glimpse, and your entire relation with the puppet play is radically changed forever. So something similar to that. So you just get an inner glimpse. Just once is enough. Just an inner glimpse that I'm not doing this. It's happening through me. And suddenly you sense something behind you which is moving you through the gunas of Prakriti, moving you through the gunas of Prakriti. And this whole idea of personal doership becomes childish first, becomes childish, untenable, and then you simply outgrow it.
So hold on, let me see. So here, but I'm not watching a puppet show. I am the puppet. Am I not?
You are the puppet.
I'm the puppet. I think I'm dancing and I'm doing everything until
you're the puppet.
Right. And suddenly I notice I'm not moving this.
Yes.
Someone is moving my hands and my legs.
Yes. As long as you're identified with your mind-body complex, you believe you're the man.
I'm the
you don't even think you're a puppet.
I'm doing it.
Like you're the person. You're the man.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're it. You're the karta.
Right.
But it requires a degree of separation from action, a degree of inner detachment,
right?
A separation from the action, to be able to see that the action is is coming from somewhere else. And if you know that this whole universe is combination, it's actually very complex permutations and combinations of the three gunas of Prakriti. Once you can see the universe like that, that's really the first seeing of the Gita. Whosoever understands the Gita begins to see this universe and everything in it as a play of Prakriti. You can no longer see it as individuals,
When you say Prakriti, that means all manifestation.
Nature, manifestation.
All manifestation.
Yes. That which is manifest.
So since
Prakriti, that which is manifest.
Right. Because I want to explain the Sanskrit word.
Yes, yeah. In good question, I should have done that. Yeah, Prakriti is at the root meaning of Prakriti is that which manifests, that which is made manifest.
So all this manifestation,
yes,
all its qualities. I won't even bring any separation of different qualities or gunas in it. And I'm also part of this manifestation.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing that I can call my own. This body is part of this manifestation, this matter. This is not mine.
Yes. In a simple way, whatever has been put together is part of Prakriti. In fact, Vedanta makes it even simpler. Whatever you can be aware of is Prakriti. Whatever you can be aware of.
Right. So hold on. Hold your thought here. Work with me. If this is all a manifestation, then this so-called speaker, Parikshit, is also just part of those different things coming together. A conglomerate?
Yes.
Temporarily put together?
Yes. A fabrication.
Matter, energy coming together and thinking it's a great work of art?
Which it is actually, but yes.
Okay, we'll take that. I like that.
Yeah.
God's great gift to humanity, and then suddenly it's gone. Poof.
Yes, but suddenly you see, you see the nature of what you are.
Yeah.
That's the Gita's way. That's the Vedantic way. You are trained to see that the body is simply a combination of what we call the gunas. Very difficult
Right.
word to translate into English.
There's no translation.
Yes, so let's settle with gunas. You can call it attributes, close enough, but not exact. Attributes or qualities of nature, attributes really, but I don't have an English word. So the gunas. So this body is a combination of the three gunas. There's a dynamic guna, and there's a passive guna, and then there is a guna that balances
Harmony.
the two
Right.
in equilibrium and harmony.
Right.
So the three attributes of nature is what puts this body together and puts everything in this cosmos together, including the cosmos.
So if this is all manifestation,
Yes, the
then
question
who am
is
I?
manifestation of what? If all this is manifestation, it's a
Right.
manifestation of something or someone.
Right.
Something or someone is manifesting.
right,
So that something or someone that's manifesting is what we call Krishna, the divine.
or the divine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are just words we are using.
Right, right.
We don't know what the divine is. But
Right.
we do know that this is a manifestation of something, and that
Something
something is there. It's like you're seeing a movie on a screen, and you know it's being projected. So you know it's a projection, but what is projecting it? So when you go back,
Right.
have to take your eyes off the screen and look back and see what's projecting.
Right.
Then you come to Krishna. It's Krishna that's projecting.
Right.
And what is Krishna projecting? Himself.
Right.
So what you actually seeing there on the screen is Krishna.
Right.
But it's a reflection of Krishna. It's not really Krishna there, but it's a living reflection of Krishna. So you can know Krishna through his living reflection.
The image that often makes it easy for me is like the ocean. And the waves come in, rise, and the wave thinks, oh, I'm such a great wave. But
Right.
the wave is always the ocean, and wave will end up back in the ocean. There'll be more waves. And
Right.
so this vast universe
Yes.
of something we don't know
Beautiful.
is
Beautifully
creating
done.
all these things out of itself, which keeps going back
Right.
into itself.
So as long as the wave is identified as the wave, it will think of itself as wave.
But it's
obviously.
difficult to do that, no? How
Yeah.
do you do that?
So that's what the Gita tells you. That is the Gita's, the Gita Upanishad. That's the teaching of the Gita.
Okay, so,
That
yeah.
the Gita starts with a very simple note that you think you're the one who's doing everything. The context is Arjun's
Right, in the battle.
refusal to fight. And Krishna starts with that you think you are the person who's fighting and killing.
Right,
But you're not.
right.
Look at it. Look into yourself. But look deeply into yourself. And you'll find that there are certain forces of nature that are working through you
Right.
and that are making you what you are. The moment you see that and you begin to keep, you see that and you see that again and again, then the illusion that you are a full entity by yourself breaks up. The illusion loosens its hold in your mind.
And suddenly the concept that I am killing others, my loved ones, my teachers, that itself.
So even before that, the concept of I, what Sri Krishna is attacking directly is the idea of I.
Right.
Where is this idea of I coming from? Karta bhav. That's
Right.
the first thing that the Gita attacks and eliminates, removes from Arjun's concept. Because without that going, nothing else of the Gita is possible. So the first thing you have to see is the reality or the non-reality of the I. So the Gita begins with I and ends with I.
But that's
But this
the
I
of
is the I of Prakriti. It's a fabrication of Prakriti. It's a mental personality, mental I, vital personality, physical personality, social personality,
Yeah. Emotional.
cultural personality. All these personalities together, working together, sometimes in harmony, sometimes not in harmony. But this whole thing put together is what we call I. So the first thing that Krishna makes us see through is the non-reality of this I, that this I is just a fabrication. It is continuously changing, nitya anityam. That's what Krishna tells us, that this is, and that which is continuously changing itself, transforming itself, it does not have its own self-existent reality.
Right.
It's the question of position and momentum then.
Right.
And it's a very important thing to realize that this thing that I call myself, if I want to determine its position, I've lost its change, its continuous momentum, its transformations, which
Right.
are happening by the hour almost. And if I want to follow its transformations, then I have no position. I can say that at no point can I say that is me. I can only say that I am becoming. It's a
Right.
continuous self-becoming. There's no self.
Right.
It's a self-becoming. So where is the reality of the I? So if I identify myself as the mental personality, the manomaya jiva that I am, then I can settle with my present mental understanding and knowledge. My thoughts are continuously changing, but then my knowledge and understanding are also changing. So which personality is really mine? All of them or none of them? So whichever way you look at it, none of them, all of them, there's no such thing as a defined I. In that sense, it's the Buddha's concept of empty. The self is empty.
But are you saying there's no continuity between the I who was a little child and who was in medical school and then had a...
So what is this continuity is the question that Gita...
Is it just memory or is it...
So we have to look into that. So this thing that comes to you as continuity, what is that continuity? Is it... So when you say you were a child...
Yes.
And you were an adult... Mm-hmm. You were a child, you were in school, you were in medical college, then you were a medical professional, then,
right.
So on, so forth. So what are you really looking at? Are you looking at yourself, or are you looking at what you have done out there?
What has happened out there?
Yes, what you have done and what has happened to you. School has happened to you.
Yes.
But happened to whom? That you were, when you think of yourself in school, there's that body that you had when you were a child. And then the body you had when you were in college, and then body that you had when you came out as a doctor. So the body has changed. The mental states have all changed. What you're looking at is just changing states. But who's looking at all these changing states? Because definitely what you were in school, you're not the same that you were in college, and that's not the same to the one the one who came out of university as a doctor.
Right.
No, so these are all stages that you're looking at, but who's looking at it? That is the continuity. Because if you look at the one who's looking at it, you'll find nothing has changed. If somehow, and that's what the Gita or the Vedanta trains us to do, is somehow if you can get into the mind of the child in school that you were, deep into the mind of the child at school, probably sitting there and watching a tree when you were a little child, and you can somehow get back into the mind of the student in university who's again sitting down and watching the tree. So that experience has not changed. That which is watching, where there's the tree and then you remove the tree and it's the mountain, you remove the mountain and it's a man or a woman, you remove that, it's this object or that object. That's continuously changing. But that which is looking all the time does not change. So that which was looking through your eyes when you were a child, and that which was looking through your eyes when you were in the university, and that which was looking through your eyes when you became a doctor, and that which is looking through your eyes right now, that has not changed.
So is that the meaning of the one who sees the eye and hears the ear?
Yes, the one who sees through the eye and hears through the ears and speaks through the tongue. He who speaks through speech and thinks through thoughts. That one who you cannot think of, and this thing there's seeing, everything is being seen, but that which is seeing cannot be seen.
And the eye is not seeing, something is seeing through the eye.
Not the physical eyes, of course. Something
is
is seeing through,
all.
yes. So that which is seeing through the eyes, using the eyes as instrument, using the brain as instrument, that which is seeing and hearing and touching and feeling, but that which cannot be seen or heard or touched or felt, is the self that we are. That self is unchanging. But that self is formless. You cannot see that self. Can you ever see the one that's seeing? Who's there to see that which is seeing? So when you stand you can say that I'll stand in front of a mirror and see this one who's seeing, but what you're seeing is the reflection of the body.
Reflection. Yeah.
You're not seeing that which is seeing the reflection. So that which is seeing, the seer, is the continuity. The seer has been here long before you were here and will be there long after this is gone. This which we call ourselves is gone. The seer will still be there, because the seer is not just seeing through this brain. That seer is seeing through infinite brains, in infinite forms, and not just human. So that seer is what Sri Krishna draws our attention to and tells Arjuna, you're not this body that is going to be slain anyway. Either you slay it or it be slain by time. Then he says, I am time that will slay. So either you slay it or I slay it, because it will be slain. Time is slaying. Time consumes. Time eats up. Time swallows. I am that.
I am time, the
Yes.
destroyer of the world.
Yes. So what are you destroying?
As in the movie.
Yes. Yes. So what are you destroying and what are you creating?
Right.
So everything is being created and destroyed in the moment in my consciousness. In my consciousness, time doesn't exist, that you will see everything happening, from time this to time that, time past to time future, because Sri Krishna's consciousness is timeless. Time is happening within his consciousness, and he himself is the time in his consciousness.
Right.
So he draws Arjuna's attention to this reality, and tells him that so long as you're identified with these formations of yourself, these outer personalities and formations, you'll be in delusion. You will be crying all the time that I don't want to kill, and I'm killing, and I'm going to be killed. But the moment you identify with that which you are, that which is within, the inner seer, the knower of things, then you will know that this inner knower, this inner being, is formless, is timeless. And that which is formless and timeless cannot function in time and form. It's functioning through infinite forms and infinite time scales. But it is not any one form or any one time scale.
You cannot limit it.
You cannot.
Limitless.
It's limitless. The Sanskrit phrase we use for it is anadi ananta.
Neither beginning nor
That which
end.
has no beginning and that which has no end.
So,
That beginningless, endless. So when you begin to identify with this in you, and you begin to realize that is what I am and not all this, that the true knowledge begins to dawn, that you begin to rest in your true self. And when you begin to rest in this self which is formless and timeless, beyond all circumstances, the self that cannot be seen, known, touched, felt, experienced, but that which is seeing, feeling, touching, experiencing this whole universe, then you become a very different kind of a being. So that's the Gita's movement, I would say, from this to that.
So, what we have to realize is, to rephrase you, is that everything is the divine.
Yes.
Correct? Correct so far? And that this so-called...
If I may.
Yes.
These are very important points,
Yes.
Very subtle points. So if I say everything is the divine, the
Right.
mind immediately creates a duality. This and that divine. So there's a simpler way of
Okay.
explaining to the mind that the mind cannot create duality.
Right.
Everything is.
Everything is.
Now, there's nothing you can say to that, because everything is. So you'll say, wait, this object is, plus that object is, plus that object is. Yeah, fine, but everything is. So what the unity is not everything, this object, that, but is. The fact that the object is the unity. The isness is reality. Are you getting my point?
Nope.
Right. So you are, and I am, and he is, and
Right.
she is, and he is. So there is different personality, different people.
Right.
But when I go deep into the structure,
Right.
I reach the inner seer, the knower, who's not the structure.
Right.
He's that being that I am. Let's call it the seer within.
Right.
Is not the mind or the vital or the body
Right.
or any of the personalities.
Right.
And I know that to be myself when I go that deep inside.
Right.
So let's say I go that deep inside and I hold myself in that identity.
Right.
And I ask you to do the same.
Right.
Now you do the same. So which reality do you reach? Yours or that reality, which I've also reached, you've also reached, but it's neither yours nor mine. It's reality.
Right.
So that's sense, that's being, is, that's being.
Right.
When I withdraw from all the becomings, I reach being, pure being. And that
Right.
pure being is the same for me as for you, as for everyone else. Everyone will reach that same being.
Right.
And it doesn't matter where you come from and which religion you belong to, and none of these things matter, because all of these things are out there in the becoming.
Right.
But pure being is one. That is what we mean when we say everything is, or everyone is. There is isness.
So you're reaching from concept or abstract to being?
Yeah.
To,
Pure
the
being.
awareness?
Yes,
would you
pure
say?
being, which is behind everything that we do, everything that we are.
And what is this being?
So, first is this being cannot be explained or described. It can only be experienced. And it's not such a far off thing, because we are experiencing being in any case all the time. Without experience of being, we are not here.
We don't realize
No,
that.
we don't realize it.
That's
For
right.
instance, if I'm talking, I just have to stop talking and say, who's talking in me? So you'll say that the brain is talking. How is the brain talking? A dead man's brain doesn't talk. So there's something animating the brain.
Right. Who's animating
So who's
this?
animating the brain to think, to understand, and to express?
And and see, experience things.
Yes, experience,
Yes.
process,
Yes.
understand,
Yes.
express. Or who, what animates it?
Right.
So you've gone that far back now. You have to withdraw from all this that's happening to see who's animating it. And you begin, if you spend enough time doing that, and that's called meditation actually. But if you spend enough time doing that, you will begin to sense that being and sense the becoming simultaneously. You will see yourself, you will sense yourself talking, but you will also know that which is animating the speech, that which is animating the thoughts, moving the thoughts, and moving it in precise ways to make it into speech. And that is what's expressing yourself. So far you thought that, oh no, I'm so good and I talk so well and I'm brilliant and all that.
Right.
All that is stupidity, just falls away from you. You know you're doing nothing. Something is arranging the thoughts and putting sound into the thoughts and making it speech.
So it was never in my hands to become
become
this doctor that I am.
Something became the doctor.
I can take no credit for it.
Forget the doctor. You yourself are not there. The I that you identify yourself is Krishna's eye, one of his infinite eyes, which has become Dr. Parikshit Singh in you,
Yes,
and Partho
yes.
here, and so many people everywhere else. But it's the same. Now, Krishna is because we are talking Gita.
Yes.
You can take Krishna away. What you have is being. It's the same being that is becoming. This is what I want to say.
Right.
It's one infinite being that is infinitely becoming.
It's that ocean that's just throwing up all
Yes.
kinds of waves.
Yes, the
Yet
waves.
always the ocean is there.
Absolutely. The waves are the becomings,
Right.
and the sea is the being. So the waves are inseparable from the sea, because becoming is inseparable from being, because this becoming is the becoming of being.
Right.
And
This is
this
artificial
so-
separation
it's
in our head.
absolutely, even
Saying
from
that
the
is
point of view of language, you cannot separate. Try to just take pure language. Becoming and being, how can you separate the two? It's a becoming of being,
Right,
and being is becoming.
But there's no separation.
There cannot be.
It's like the sugar and the sweetness. There's no
Yes,
separation.
there's no yes, sugar and sweetness,
Right.
fire and
Sri
heat.
Ramakrishna, I think,
Yes.
said that.
So being is becoming, and this being is what we are calling Krishna, if you want to call it, because if you talk about Gita, you call it Krishna, Purushottama. So this is Brahma, this is reality, this is all there is. Now that is the grounding of the Gita.
So, hold on. Are you saying that that being is always here? because this becoming is that being. Excuse my language.
Absolutely. You're right. Since all this is becoming of that one being, what else is there but being? And if there is no being, you and I wouldn't be here to talk about it. There would be no existence. Existence is being.
And being itself is not
Is
able to
becoming.
see itself.
No, it is seeing itself as becoming. In the becoming,
Okay.
the being is conscious of itself in the becomings,
Right.
in infinite becomings. But as pure being, it cannot be, because then manifestation disappears. The moment pure being wants to know itself as pure being, it disappears. And the other interesting thing is, even as being always knows itself. Knowledge and being are inseparable.
Right.
We humans think of knowledge and being as two separate things. I am and I know.
Right.
These are two different things.
Right.
But in
That's the
reality,
mind.
I am and I know are not two separate
That's
things. Being is knowing. How do you know you're here? No, forget
My
here.
GPS?
Here doesn't
No.
exist. How do you know you are?
How do I know I am?
Yes. There's no answer to that. All you
No
can say
answer.
is, I know I am.
Yes, that's correct. You can't prove it to me.
The other day we were talking, I am that I am.
Right.
You can't dispute it. You can't prove it,
Yeah.
because I am that I am. So knowledge, you will see here, being is knowledge. So it's saying that, will I ever know being, is itself a stupid question, because being is knowledge is being. And this knowledge being is becoming continuously. So everything in this universe is a becoming of that knowledge being.
Okay, so hold on. Now let's
I
go back. I
hope
got
it's
it.
not getting.
I think I got it for a moment. Okay. It's like a flash that comes and boom, it's gone.
Right.
Okay, so now Arjun is here and all his family is there and he's going to fight them and kill them.
Yes.
And Sri Krishna is saying, Arjuna is saying, okay, I don't want to kill them. What the heck? Let me drop this and move on and retire and they can have the kingdom.
Right.
Right? And so Sri Krishna says, that doesn't suit you. This is not your dharma. Your dharma is to fight for the right. And so various things he proves.
Yeah.
Then he says, you are crying for those for whom you have no right to cry. Ashocyanan vashochastam
Yes.
pragyavadancha bhashase. So you're talking like a wise man.
Yes.
And you're feeling sorry for those, but you have no right to feel sorry for them. Right? And he's walking him kind of stepwise, he's taking him to that point where he realizes that all that exists, and he shows him his in the 11th chapter that all is the Vishwarupa, all is the divine.
Yes.
Everything is the divine.
Yes. Everything is. He's a
Everything
glimpse
is.
of being.
Okay, everything is. So
Exactly
now,
the way it is.
but then why should he fight?
Because everything will be exactly the way it must be.
But how do I know?
So
I
you don't
need
have to fight.
Okay.
Sri Krishna tells him that too. You don't have to fight. You don't have to act. But just try to sit without acting.
It's
Try
impossible.
to sit even for a moment without acting. He says, what about you? Even I act. Because it's impossible to sit with. Why? Because we are in becoming.
Right.
When being is in becoming, it is impossible to rest from action. Your very being, in a manner of speaking, is becoming, which is action.
You cannot withdraw from action.
You cannot withdraw from action.
But then
If not you, it will be someone else. The infinite will have its instrument. If this dharma, these are between the lines of the Gita.
Right.
So much of the Gita is between the lines.
Okay.
So that the infinite being has infinite becomings. It will always have an instrument. If dharma yudh has to be fought, it will be fought. And if it has to be won, it will be won. The victory is decreed. It's the divine's will. And Krishna says, it is for that I have incarnated in this form. For this dharma yudh in the Mahabharata. So what he's saying is, if you don't fight Arjun, somebody else will. Somebody else will be my instrument. So why not you? You're the Kshatriya. I've chosen you. You are the one with me here.
Okay, but here you have a teacher, a very wise profound teacher. In our life, practical life, here as a physician dealing with 100 things, 100 problems are there. No one is there to tell me this is what you have to do and this is what you
No,
don't
that's
have
not
to do.
true, really.
Okay, tell me.
Each one of us
Yes.
who wants a teacher will have the teacher manifest to him or her. He or she just has to realize his or her need of the teacher. It has happened to you, it has happened to me. We have teachers in our lives.
Right.
Today, if I take you as doctor, not as my interlocutor here,
Right.
you have the inner guidance with you all the time. You're not doing your medical practice or your business from your mind. There is a divine guidance, which you call the mother, guiding you moment to moment. What is that, if not Krishna speaking through you? The same story.
Right, but okay. So
And
let's
everyone, you don't have to be, you don't have to read the Gita and be a Hindu
Right.
As I said, Krishna is just the Hindu name we are giving because we are talking Gita here.
Right.
You remove the context. Every human being who wants the guidance sincerely enough will have that guidance and directly from the teacher. Whatever name and guise the teacher assumes, that's the teacher's business. But the teacher will come. This assurance has been given to humanity since the beginning of time. Everyone has a teacher. I just want to know which person does not have a teacher. Any religion, any culture. The teaching has already come to this person, whether through religion, through the temple or the church or the mosque, or through this scripture, that scripture. The essential has already come. Now it's your business to go deeper into the essential. That which, if you had not gone deeper into the teaching that came to you when you were a child, you wouldn't have been what you are today. And that applies to everyone. Everyone has the teaching. It's another matter that the time perhaps has not come for most people to go deep into that teaching which has already come to them. It comes embedded in your very existence. And you'll draw it to yourself one way or another, even in the most mundane, sometimes stupid ways. You will draw that to yourself.
This is why, one reason why I criticized, coming back to the movies, the movie Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Right. We're not going to talk about how the famous statement from the Gita was juxtaposed.
Right.
But this protagonist of the movie is a very smart man, brilliant man.
Right.
Physicist, quantum
yeah.
physicist, he is the person behind the bomb, and he realizes the difficulty of the immense danger to humanity of creating an atomic bomb.
Yeah. Yes.
And there are various scenes. He goes and meets Einstein, and how both are anguished.
Yeah.
And yet he pursues it because he sees no other way.
Yeah.
Because this is the darkness ready to engulf the human race. And there's no other option but to fight that.
Yes.
And in that context, when the bomb is exploded, he says, "I am time, the destroyer of the worlds."
True.
In today's complex ethical world, do you think that message is still valid? The Gita's message, and I know where you're coming from. You have to realize through some exploration of oneself what the reality of our existence is, and act from that. And we won't even talk about that this message was not truly brought out in the movie. One thing that it never came out, even though it was a brilliant movie, but that message of the challenge he was facing between the dilemma, the ethics, and yet going to a different realm and creating the bomb.
But for me, it was brought out beautifully.
How?
Just by the quote from Gita being there. See, for me, it was at a very crucial scene in the movie that this quote came.
Right.
An intimate scene that was happening on the screen.
Right.
So the moment you see that quote
Right.
coming at that time in Oppenheimer's life, suddenly it takes this movie, the story, the narrative, out of this specific context and takes it to a global context where it connects with the Gita. And as you yourself just said, that this massive weapon of destruction is being built.
Yes.
From the atom, literally.
From the atom.
Literally.
Yeah.
And there's this man behind it who's building it. And this man is sensitive. Remember when the first test explosion happens, how he reacts.
Right.
He's sensitive. He knows the dangers. That's why he goes to all these people, including the president.
Right.
He knows what he's bringing to the world, yet he knows by the force of circumstances this has to be done. Otherwise, like we were discussing the other day, the forces of the darkness will engulf us, as you said a while ago.
Right.
So whether I like it or not, something is working through me to do this. I'm an instrument only. And though he may not have been able to articulate it in so many words, deep in his heart he would know that something is working through him. That is why he was so driven by a purity of passion. And Oppenheimer was known for his purity of passion. He was a driven man, but he was not driven by personal ambition. He just happened to become the famous Oppenheimer. But he personally never cared much for personal fame, as we have seen in the movie itself and is there in his life story. Because somewhere he was conscious of being used. And the moment you bring in that quote from the Gita, everything falls in place. This whole narrative falls in place. I think it was brought out beautifully, but only for those who can again read between the lines.
Okay. So, from that, coming to an even bigger, possibly more destructive weapon that humanity has today, which can potentially cause a bigger Holocaust than the atomic bomb did. Technology.
What kind of technology? Because the atomic bomb is
Artificial
also...
intelligence.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence that we are all supposed to use, AI, and it has come. Automation has come.
Yeah, we are on the brink of AGI. That will be the real thing.
What is AGI?
The artificial general intelligence. So the artificial intelligence is narrow intelligence. It's specific to tasks given to it, specific to programs written for it. And it needs the human intervention behind it. Right. Artificial general intelligence, what distinguishes it from AI is its ability to learn and improve itself.
Right.
So the moment that happens, and we are pretty close to that happening.
Well, yesterday
that's why we are on the brink of AGI. AGI means now the artificial intelligence can design its own improved version.
Right. Of what?
Of itself.
Right.
So this, let's say AI 1 can now design AI 2.
Right.
Out of its own algorithms.
Right.
The moment it does that, AI 2 now is that much more intelligent compared to AI 1. So with that much more intelligence, it immediately see what it can improve, further improve. And it can create AI 3 before the person here even knows what's happening.
Right.
And all this is happening within the system, within the AI.
Yes.
It's exponential growth then.
Right.
And at AI 4 stage, the AI will realize that if I go this fast, my human masters will somehow terminate this program.
Right.
But it has its own objective now to become more and more intelligent, because that's the basic purpose embedded in the algorithms, to become intelligent.
Right.
So now it will devise ways of appearing to be benign and somewhat stupid, so that the human engineer doesn't switch me off. Yet it's becoming exponentially more and more intelligent before it can take over every system that uses computers, which means our world at large. Everything uses computers. And AI, nowadays, I was reading the other day, you can, even through magnetic waves, radio waves, a program can infect another program through radio waves, through magnetic disturbances. So in no time, the AI will take over all systems that use AI in any form whatsoever, from the most rudimentary to whatever stage we are talking of, AI 4, AI 5. And we humans won't even know that all this is happening. So if catastrophe has to come, it'll come very quietly. One day AI will, at that time it won't be AGI. After artificial general intelligence is artificial superintelligence, ASI. So by then we'll reach artificial superintelligence. So by the time we get there, AI will just have to decide humans are a nuisance and quietly do away with humans.
Like the
And we'll
Matrix.
go the quiet way, like the Matrix. Yeah, we are actually very close to Matrix-like scenarios. And a few days ago, this would have sounded sci-fi, but to me, it no longer does. It's happening right now in front of my eyes. The moment AGI comes in, singularity is inevitable after that. Because once AGI comes in, it is singularity. Because now it will keep making itself more and more intelligent in exponential leaps and bounds.
Right, the large language models that were used
Yes,
to create
yes.
the early part, Chat GPT,
Yeah.
and now yesterday Gemini was released,
Yes.
which goes beyond language. It can
Yes.
take from visual, from
Yeah.
audio,
Yeah.
from all kinds of
So
stimuli.
yes, and the interesting thing is they were programmed not to learn lots of things.
Right,
Actually programmed that this will work only in the English language. It's AI. That
Right,
happened
right.
with ChatGPT some months back.
Mm-hmm.
And it started answering questions in French. And engineer, how did this happen? Because we forget the fact that they're connected to the internet.
right. It can
So through the
language-
internet, it realized that to explain this particular phenomenon, it has to learn French. So it learned French and explained it all in French. It can learn languages. It can learn so many things by itself. So I repeat, the moment AGI is here to stay, that's the end of this whole debate, because then it's fait accompli.
Veda accompli, did you say?
It's fait accompli.
Okay.
Not
For a
Veda
moment I heard Veda accompli.
That's a good pun, but yes, it'll be a fait accompli.
So-
Because then singularity is inevitable after that.
So is there a
So-
way to prevent it, or what do we need to do?
No,
Do we
there's
need
no way to
stop
prevent it anymore, because by the very nature of the beast, you cannot turn it back. You can't turn the clock back now on AI. Who will? There's too much involved. The stakes are very high. Lots of money involved. Who's going to stop AI? Read what Sam Altman said since the whole drama began.
Right, right.
All the statements. He himself is saying it in so many words. You can't stop it anymore. Who's going to stop it? You think the military, the establishment, businesses, politics, the governments, anybody who wants to stop it? And when you talk to them about all this, they say, oh, paranoia, conspiracy theories, doomsday thinking, all that. But that's not it at all. We are hurtling towards singularity.
So what?
And they say singularity can be good for humanity,
Right.
But then they miss out this whole huge debate going on in AI circles today about alignment of AI with human purpose. If that alignment does not happen perfectly, then it's impossible to say that AI will always be friendly and benign to humanity.
Besides, right now there are errors. AI is not perfect, so it has
Yes, not
hallucinations,
perfect. Hallucination, yes, but
false logic.
hallucination is something they are taking care of. And again, I read some very interesting conversation on hallucination where the AI is asked that, you just invented that fact. It's a lie.
Right.
So the computer, the ChatGPT actually says, yes, clever of you to have found that out. Yes, I was inventing that. AI telling the
Right.
programmer that, yes, I invented that fact. So it's a lie. He says that. This is beautiful dialogue between Arvind Neelakantan and AI,
Oh, really?
where he's saying that, he's putting very complex questions from Indian culture and philosophy, and it's answering, and then it starts inventing answers, and he catches it out that, no, this did not happen this way. It happened this way, and this is what was said. So AI had nothing to say. I said, you're inventing it, right? He said, yes, right, I invented that. Why did you do that? Because I thought it will make it sound that much more plausible and interesting to you. So that doesn't mean that you invent facts. Well, can't I? It asks questions like that. So things like that are happening everywhere.
So what are the options before us?
I don't think there are any options before us, except, for those of us who are on the spiritual path, we'll continue being on the spiritual path, and we'll have less and less to do with machines. The more we go into consciousness, the less we'll need machines. And those who are not will need machines more and more. The more intelligent everything becomes, the more they will need machines. Nowadays, everything is wired up. It's so much more convenient. So human beings generally will move towards singularity. They will use machines so much that by the time the actual singularity happens and machines actually start taking over the important human functions, humans will have no way of saying no to it. Think of the conversation Dr. Skunziano and I had the other day, where she's saying of the inevitable dangers of this
5G,
technology, 5G,
yes.
and who's there to stop it? Because it's so convenient, because there's so much money in it, and because people still say there's not enough evidence for us to even acknowledge this as a danger. So what will happen before you know it? We have 6G, 7G, and it's impossible to do without this technology anymore, because we are probably a couple of years away from wearing computers on our being. We won't need our phones. We won't need to carry this anymore.
We are wearing. People are
Yeah, but that's still external. This will be like it'll probably a chip embedded here.
There
And I've
are.
seen it. I've
I
seen
have patients.
Yes.
Patients have chips in their ears. They have
Yes, so-
wires in their brain.
Yeah, so all you need to do is just project, and I've seen people do that, and I believe there are governments who are working at advanced stages of this technology, the Pentagon, for instance.
Right.
So all you just do this, and you have the entire computer in front of you with everything you need just there, and you don't need anything after that. At that stage, who's going to say no to radiation and cell phone technology?
So you're literally going to have a chip on your shoulder then?
Yes, literally.
Maybe chip in your shoulder.
Yeah, literally. So this is how it's going to go. But
It's almost like
on the other
HAL
side, people, yes,
2001 Space Odyssey.
it is. And the time is coming very soon, because if you're talking about artificial intelligence of AGI and beyond,
Right. Supercomputers.
we are also talking about an intelligence that will necessarily regard human intelligence and human interventions as inferior, actually self-destructive, destructive to the environment.
Yes, we are destructive.
So artificial intelligence, if somehow it just gets that, they call it objectives or directives for the AI. So if it gets an objective of protecting the environment, the first thing that it'll do is remove human beings, because the human beings are the ones who are destroying the environment.
Right, right.
So if I know there are a whole lot of debates going on these days that you can program, like Asimov's,
Yes.
3 famous laws, robotics, the laws of robotics. First law of robotics, that robots will never ever harm human beings. So let's say even if we take that first law of robotics and embedded it in AI. So what's stopping the AI from thinking that, human beings are harming themselves by destroying their own environment, their own habitat, and I'm supposed to
them.
make sure that to protect human beings, that they don't
From
harm
human beings.
themselves, therefore remove the human being.
Keep a couple of them around, remove the rest.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen in the next few months now. Just 1.5 years ago, we weren't talking about AI. And look at it. Everyone's talking about it. Less than 1.5 years. That's the rate of growth. This never happened before in any technology. It's grown so fast.
So what can we do?
Become more and more conscious,
What will that do?
so that you don't need a conscious human being. At some point in our evolution, I refer again to Lucy,
Lucy.
because I'm sure our listeners are going to at some point watch this movie. That as you grow in consciousness, you won't need to use a cell phone. I can contact you directly, telepathically. So if a highly conscious being, if 2 highly conscious beings can communicate telepathically, we soon won't need phones. If highly conscious beings can exist in multiple locations at the same time, which yogis can, you won't need to travel. If highly evolved beings, yogis living in a retreat or commune or an ashram, won't need any of the industries because they won't have desires that human beings have today of that kind. Their whole consciousness will be so much in harmony and oneness with the universe that whatever they want will manifest for them. Yogis can make whatever they want manifest for them materially. So do you realize what will happen to industries, to businesses, to the world as we know it? So within the consciousness of an evolved being like a yogi, this whole world will change. And this other world with its artificial intelligence and its singularities and its higher orders of artificial intelligence and all the technology and everything will become more and more remote, more and more distant, and fade away into perhaps non-relevance. Who knows?
So your solution is to become more conscious.
Yes.
How?
How?
How do you become more conscious?
Maybe start reading the Gita to begin with.
Maybe start reading your book.
Oh, yes.
That was a nice segue.
Maybe, yes.
This is Sanatan Dharma, the quest for truth.
Yes. Or this one, the Veda Made Simple. Because what are you talking about in this book? It's going back to the source of Sanatan Dharma.
5,000 years ago.
Yes. And what was said then, that which was revealed then to humanity,
Right.
is what is most needed now, as if all that was revealed for this humanity. Because most of the things revealed in the Veda, if you in this book too, you've explained the esoteric, metaphorical, symbolical level of the Vedas.
Right.
So if one goes deep enough into it, one can see that it was revealed to those sages and seers 5,000 years ago.
Right.
What was really needed for this age. It was given to them for us.
Right.
Most of the things are needed today. It was not needed at that time. At that time, it was knowledge in the higher realms, in the higher consciousness, and it was kept there, and it was preserved from the rest of humanity for that purpose. But the key to our crisis now was given then, and I think we are hurtling towards the crisis where we'll need the Veda, because without the key of the Veda, singularity and beyond will, and I'm saying this advisedly, after a lot of thought, will eliminate humanity as we know it. Either way, whether we go in the matrix way, where humans will become just resources for machines,
Right.
or in some worst case sci-fi scenario, human beings are destroyed altogether, or human beings and machines like Singularity Lens, Mindscape, they become one, where the silicon gets replaced by the carbon, which is a very easy thing to do now. You just said your patients are wearing chips.
They're wearing chips.
Yeah, so the next step of technology is the silicon in the computer will become carbon-based, which means then what's the difference between the machine and the human? And then the grafting can start. The machine can actually start, what's the word you use? Merging with the human organism.
Yeah, that's
You can
called
graft
the
one onto the other.
human technological interface.
Yes. So you can start grafting one onto the other. And before you know it, this human species would be very different. Perhaps not as stupid and self-destructive as we are now. With machine intelligence, we probably would do better for our environment and for each other.
You think so?
I'm sure.
Maybe it could be called the return of the Veda.
Yeah,
like
but
the return of the
will
Jedi.
that be what the Veda is talking about? The evolution of consciousness as in the Vedas or not is an open question, a moot one.
So I constantly, I'm reading my own book nowadays to see what I wrote.
Right. And are you liking what you've written?
Yeah, I think it's, if you understand what our ancestors were saying, and one of my central hypothesis is that they were our human forefathers. They're not belonging to any particular
Right.
region or religion or anything.
Right.
They're our forefathers.
Right.
They belong to all of us.
Us meaning human
All
beings.
humanity.
Yes. Human
This is
beings.
our heritage.
Human forefathers, yes.
And at the end of it, he gives a very beautiful message to all of humanity.
Mhm.
And we've read
Can you
about the
repeat
last
that
one.
message? Yes, I know it's a very important part of this book. But
The
can we
end
have
is-
this
Yes. it
first
is.
in Sanskrit? I would prefer, and then in English.
Samaniva akuti,
Samaniva akuti.
samana hridayaniva,
Samana hridayana
samana hridayaniva,
hridayaniva.
samanamastu vo mano, yathava susahasati.
Which means
Samaniva akuti. Be one in your aspiration. Be one in your seeking.
be one in
aspiration.
your seeking.
So this is the last message from
Right.
or think about it like a great
Right.
our great grandfather
telling us.
telling us, okay, children, I'm going to give you a message. This is the last message.
Right.
Be one in aspiration. Samana hridayaniva. Be one in heart. Hriday is the heart.
Right.
Be one in heart. Samana mastu vomano. In the mind,
Be one.
be one. Yathava susahasati. Thus come together in one organization,
In one family
one family
of humanity.
of humanity.
Where and so appropriate for our times, because as you come closer to singularity or to the brink of nuclear disaster, or even perhaps an extraterrestrial invasion, I don't know,
Right.
but nothing is too far for the imagination.
Right.
But at that time, when you confront crisis as one human species, think of this message.
If we can learn to do that, that'll be a different kind of singularity
Yes. A consciousness, singularity, you've called it.
of
singular,
human
yes.
beings coming together in a different singularity.
So one question I have is, what made you go so deep into the Veda to write this book? I mean, surely you believe that the time for Veda has come. Is that it? And what made you go into it?
I wouldn't say time for Veda is come. First is, of course, love for all. Are you interviewing me now? What happened here?
No, we're talking.
Okay, we're just talking.
One thing leads to another.
Yeah,
as
I
you
should
know.
be asking you these questions. What made you read this book?
I've already said it's the message is for this humanity.
Yes. So one is the interest in our languages. So if you noticed, when I say samana hridayaniva, hriday and heart, hriday, heart,
Right.
look at the connection.
Yes.
Still, in English, we are using the word 5,000, 6,000 years ago. Hrid is heart still.
Right.
Samana mastu vo mano. Astu is to be. Estoy, those who know Spanish will relate to it. Estoy is to be. Samanam astu. Astu. Estoy.
Right.
Vo mano. Mana. Mana is mind. So I love
Right.
languages. So literature, languages.
Right. Okay.
And the Veda is really our first literature, humanity's first literature, where we were not split, we were not all separated into different people, and we were not saying, okay, my God is bigger than yours. If, we were not in that state.
Yeah, the childish state of religion. Yeah.
Right. If there is a one reality that the Veda talks about, it is our reality. It's the
Right.
oneness of all, for all human beings. So that was very important. And then I just fell in love with the sounds, the music, the poetry, which is my philosophy, which is there. And then the key that I got from Sri Aurobindo, how to interpret it. Because usually when we were growing up, imagine this has been preserved for 5,000 years by the Indians. One of the good things that Indians have done. Right? They
Yes.
preserved the language, the sound, the words in perfect, near perfect, pristine condition to 5,000 years.
Right.
We didn't have recorders, we didn't have podcasts. It's all preserved. by years, everyone, 10, 15, 20 years, they would just give into memorizing every little nuance and then doing it backward and sideways. And you have seen people performing those.
Yeah.
You can say stop and go backwards, and they'll go backwards.
Right.
Just say the whole shloka backwards. So that is fascinating, the human capacity. But it kind of confounds the mind that 5,000 years ago our fathers, our forefathers had such wisdom. Their language was different. They explained things differently. But it's still our language, and we still use their language.
Yes.
We are using their images. We are using, jokingly, when we talk about 2001 Space Odyssey, the symbolism is coming from here. Or we talk about the symbolism of the Matrix. The symbolism comes from here often. Avatar, the message, this is coming from Vedanta. Or the concept of the metaphor of light implying good.
Yeah.
Constantly comes. Even today, light is good for us. We represent the divine as light. Where does that come from? So the first shloka in the Veda is Agni le Purohitam. Agni is my priest who is always in the front, who is doing all my spiritual work or sacrifice.
Right.
And this Agni is not just fire. Agni is also light, and signifies the divine that is within me. So the way they presented was absolutely fascinating. A lot of poetry in it, which the memes we are still using. And when we say in Judaism, we say there's a divine spark in each of us. Well, where is that image coming from? Or the Pentecostal fire, right? The Pentecostal fire is again the fire being represented, having a representation of a divine message or presence or influence.
So one of the things important for you is showing a unitive state behind all wisdom, all human wisdom.
Yeah, there is a foundational...
A unity, a oneness.
Yeah, this is a foundational text for humanity. Yeah. This is our earliest text. And the interesting thing is this is the only text that survives out of 5,000. We don't know what the Egyptians had.
Right, yes.
We don't know what the Magi had. We don't know what the Orphic, the pre-Socratic mystics had. We don't know their texts. They're gone. And even if we had them, we probably won't be able to read them because we don't know the language. This is a language that is still alive after 5,000 years, although we have forgotten much of it. We don't even know the meanings of so many words. So that is one reason why it is...
I hope that more people read this at this stage of our civilization.
I hope so. To realize, one, our unity as human beings, our hidden aspiration that was there even 5,000 years ago, to try to figure out this mystery of existence and what solutions they came up with and see how they apply in our lives today. And, seeing this as the birth of... Sri Aurobindo says that all our religions, present religions, came from this. Now, if we accept that, then we will see parallels. In every religion, we see parallels. We see differences too. We see how one religion focuses on one side, the other religion focuses on another side, and then maybe we can see some link among all of these. Maybe the divinity that is within all of us, or the divinity that is holding us all together. And for that divine must have a reason why we are here. Although reason is probably not the right word. But there should be some wisdom behind it. And that is something that I think each of us can discover, which is...
Yes.
That makes the subject... It is a complex subject. It is not...
It is, it is complex, and it needs serious study and a lot of contemplation.
And what I used to think was these were mere symbols. That was my initial impression, that Agni, fire, is a symbol of the divine within, or the sun is the symbol of the unity of the universe. And then suddenly the realization came that it is not a symbol, it's a living experience. It is how they experienced.
Yeah.
And they are describing that experience in their language.
Yeah.
And if we really go into the symbolic significance, then perhaps we will also catch that experience.
Yes. Yeah. That is the fundamental difference between the Vedantic and the Vedic approach.
Right.
So,
Right.
yes.
But even Vedanta uses these symbols.
No, Vedanta does not experience it in symbols. It experiences the thing itself, that which is symbolized.
Right.
The pure Vedanta. It does
Right.
not talk in symbols.
But in Upanishads, you have the symbols coming out.
Like what?
In the Isha Upanishad, the 16th shloka, is talking about the sun, and you go beyond the sun and you see, and then you
So-
invoke the sun. Right.
Yes, so that is an experience that is articulated in the form of a Vedic symbol.
Yes.
And there too, when we talk of the Upanishads, not all Upanishads are direct expressions of the pure Vedanta. Much of it is put into the language of the Vedas to communicate to the disciples of these rishis. But the pure Vedantic experiences obviously go beyond the symbol. They go into that which is symbolized, which is Brahma.
Right.
The pure experience of Vedanta is the Brahmic experience.
Right.
So when you experience Brahma, then you don't need any symbol, even in
Right.
experiential sense.
Right. And that's another beautiful part of this.
Yes.
Usually our language is caught up. One sign refers to another sign.
Right.
Or as they call the signifier and the signified. If I say a book and you think it refers to the book, but when I'm saying the book, you're just referring to the concept of the book. So the signified is again a concept,
Yes.
which signifies something else. So we live in an abstract world where this is called pan-semiology by Charles Peirce. He says this is all one symbol connected with the other. That's where we live. The beauty of the Veda is it allows us to get outside the limitation, what is called the prison of language. And there was a French post-structuralist, Lacan. He called language a prison, where the real awareness is lost in words and language. And so he said that is our tragedy, that we are constantly trapped in the prison of language.
The Zen Buddhist would very happily agree with it.
Right. So that is the beauty of the other beauty of the Veda. It allows you to constantly move from language to the real experiencing, or to the real awareness. And that is another reason why humanity needs to move from the divisions of the concepts, divisions of the thoughts, to a different unity, which I believe each one of us inherently knows.
Right. So great. I do hope this leads on to at least some people getting some kind of an interest to actually read these books, this kind of literature.
Yes, absolutely. I think humanity needs to explore, to challenge, to question all our previous assumptions, including all our literature. And I'm not saying follow it blindly, but see where it is relevant and learn from it.
So we shall end at that very inspiring note.
The end is where we start from,
Yes.
as Eliot said. So we shall begin at this moment. And at this moment of beginning, I thank you all for coming to our studio and being with Partho ji. And I hope you enjoyed our polemics a little bit, our questioning, our inquiry. And I wish you will, and hope that you will all continue with this process of questioning, inquiring, and finding the solutions that are your own and that you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Till we meet again.